Animal crossbreeding is something humans have been trying out for a long time, and there are some species who can be bred together naturally to create an entirely new animal. It's a pretty fascinating subject, and people have even speculated what might happen if you could cross humans with other species, like wolves. Then you might end up with Wolverine, and that's pretty cool. Or Spiderman with spiders.
You okay?
In fact, practically all superheroes are some kind of animal crossbreed, so we're taking a look at some super animals that have come from crossbreeding. From the striped big cat that also has a mane, to the huge predator that loves to climb. Here's the 15 rarest crossbreed animals in the world. Number 15. Tigon. A tigon is a crossbreed between a male tiger and a female lion. This is a cross which could have occurred in nature at least once upon a time when lions and tigers lived in the same parts of Asia. No one knows whether it ever did happen, but tigons have been bred many times in captivity. Since these cats are from the same genus, there is no problem with them reproducing. But being different species, it means that the baby tigon often will not be able to reproduce itself. So it's the end of the line when a tigon is born, and that's why they are so rare. The tigon looks a little bit like both parents, with dad's stripes and mom's mane, if it's a male that is. Also, not many people know this, but lions actually have spots, and they become more visible on the tigon's fur. The lion will not grow as big as his dad, as it will inherit growth inhibitor genes from its lion size, which will stop it from getting too big. A regular weight for a tigon is around 400 pounds, so they are certainly not to be messed with. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Time for the rare topic. Since Jurassic Park was released almost 30 years ago, scientists have been inspired to use some of the ideas from the movie to either regenerate extinct species or create new hybrid species in the labs, even if those things couldn't happen in nature. Of course, they also learned from the movie that filling an island with loads of people and velociraptors could be kind of a bad idea, so in secret they tried out something a little less dangerous, a horse-deer crossbreed. As you can see, this is still a pretty powerful looking animal, and those antlers seem kind of intense. The owner pictured here claims that this is the result of many years of experiments and is ready to be released into the wild. Other people think the whole thing is a hoax. How about you? Would you be surprised to see one of these things in a nearby forest? As always, comment down below with the hashtag #RareTopic, and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. Let's move on to the next one. Number 14. Lepin. A lepin is another big cat crossbreed. This time, however, it's the offspring of a female lion and a male leopard. This has been a rare crossbreed which has existed for some time, with the Koshin Hashin Park in Nishiyomaya, Japan, becoming famous in the 1950s and 60s for its collection of lepins. One of the lepins lived for more than 20 years, which is even longer than a regular leopard in captivity, and close to the world record for a captive leopard, which stands at 23 years. When you consider that lions only live an average of 13 years in captivity, then it's a pretty impressive achievement. The zookeepers at Koshin Hashin decided they wanted something unique. Since all the other zoos nearby were breeding lion and tiger hybrids, a lioness and a male leopard were raised together from birth in 1950, and then the first lepin cubs were born in 1959. Lepins love climbing and water, which is the opposite of lions. In fact, lion mothers get seriously freaked out when they see their babies rushing into the water and having a great time. But presumably, dad knows their leopard genes will figure out how to splash successfully. This cross could have occurred in nature, although it would have to be one seriously brave male leopard to try and hit on a random lioness, so it's pretty unlikely. Number 13. Jaglion. Jaglion. Yup, that's right. You guessed it. This is a jaguar lion. A cross between a male jaguar and a female lion, this is one hybrid that could definitely never happen in nature, since jaguars live in South America and lions are mainly in Africa. And lions don't like swimming, so there's not much possibility of a romantic meetup halfway either. The jag lion is a very rare animal, and there is a stuffed specimen on display at the Walter Rothschild Zoological Museum, Hertfordshire, England. And from this we can see the general color is that of a lion, but it has the rosettes and powerful muscular build of the jaguar. More recently, in 2006, a jag lion was born at the Bear Creek Wildlife Sanctuary in Canada. The two cubs, one male and one female, were born by mistake when a black jaguar named Diablo and a female lioness called Lola mated. The two had been raised together and were best buddies, but it seems Diablo broke out of the friend zone when the zookeepers were not looking, and now they're one big happy cat family, with the female cub inheriting the black coat of her father, while the male cub is spotted and lighter in color. Number 12. Wolverine. Yes, the names are getting weirder and weirder. This is the Wolverine, which, in case you couldn't guess, is the offspring of a bottlenose dolphin and a false killer whale. The false killer whale is a species which is about halfway between a dolphin and a killer whale in size, with a skull and teeth much more similar to a killer whale, albeit a little smaller. Still, they are pretty big and measure more than 20 feet in length, which is way bigger than a bottlenose dolphin. False killer whales are like the playboys of the sea, and the males in particular like to hang out with pods of different species and hit on pretty much anything that moves, whether male or female. This is what you might call a very 21st century species of marine creature. Anyway, that means that wolverines are actually something which occurs in nature, although very rarely. In captivity, the first wolverine known of is Kikaimalu, who was born in 1985. They tend to inherit more characteristics from the dolphin side, but will still be much larger and with few teeth, which comes from the false killer whale side. Aside from Kikaimalu, the only other captive wolverine is her daughter, Kawikai. Number 11. Kama. The Kama is another hybrid which would never happen in nature due to huge geographical differences, but is still possible thanks to an ancient biological similarity which has survived for an incredibly long time. This is a cross between a dromedary camel, which comes from Asia, and the South American llama. They share an ancestor camelid species which lived 30 million years ago in what is now the Rocky Mountains of North America. Breeders in the ancient Arab Emirates managed to cross these two species in 1998 for the first time, in what was considered a miracle of science, considering the massive amount of time they had spent apart. It must have been like two old lovers meeting again after a lifetime spent separated. If those lovers also happened to look like a camel and a llama, maybe not quite the way Hollywood would cast that story. Thankfully for the female llama, the process took place via artificial insemination. Since a camel is more than 6 times the size of a llama, could have been a little uncomfortable otherwise. Number 10. Zorse. Here we are at the inevitable Zorse. Whatever the hell that is. Oh, right, it's a zebra horse. Once again, zebras and horses have huge geographical separation in the wild. Horses are in fact native to North America and then spread into Asia and Europe. But the native North American wild horse died out around 10,000 years ago. So-called wild horses of North America are all descended from domesticated horses brought over by the Spanish and others during the colonial period. Zebras, of course, are one of Africa's most charismatic species. In the last few thousand years, horses have been domesticated and exist practically everywhere. So when the first zoos got hold of zebras in the 19th century, people were keen to try out a hybrid of the two. And so the Zorse was born, and it turned out to be an excellent working animal, inheriting hardiness and strength from the zebra with the tameness of the horse. They also have the zebra's disease immunity to Nagana, a common killer of horses and donkeys. So this is another trait which has made them a popular domestic animal, as well as zoo attractions in the past. Number 9. Pinny. A Hinny is a hybrid of a stallion and a jenny, which is to say a male horse and a female donkey. Some of you out there may be saying, hey, wait a minute, isn't that just a plain old mule? But a mule is a male donkey bred with a female horse, and is a much more common hybrid. Also, there are big differences in mules and Hinnies due to genomic imprinting, which I'm not going to explain in full here because I don't have 9 hours to spare, but basically there's certain things you inherit only from your dad and others only from your mom. Hinnies are smaller and have more donkey-like temperaments, being chilled out, stubborn, and slower, while mules have more horse-like temperaments, being courageous, energetic, and agile. Both are great for different roles, and a Hinny is ideal as a pack mount, while a mule is perfect for riding out on the trail. As for being stubborn, both mules and Hinnies are notorious for it, with Hinnies even more stubborn than mules. But this is a reflection of their intelligence, and usually because they won't let you just drag them into doing something risky or dangerous for no good reason. Number 8. Zonkey. Zonkies and zebras are another unlikely couple which have found some success in breeding together in spite of a huge difference in the number of chromosomes. These are documented in the wild, where wild zebras sometimes approach human settlements looking for water and end up having a little more than just a satisfying cool drink when they lay eyes on that flirtatious little donkey they've always dreamed of meeting. And from these meetings, zonkies are sometimes born and are able to live in the wild. They also live in zoos as a result of captive breeding. They can be pretty large, weighing up to 700 pounds and standing 5 feet tall, and are fast runners, able to clock up to 35 miles per hour. From their zebra parents, they also inherit the fantastic zebra resistance to diseases, which is always a major problem for domestic animals who have not been able to evolve through pestilences, weeding out those unable to recover. They have a long head and ears like a donkey, with the zebra black mane, making this a cool-looking animal. Number 7. Savannah cat. Here is one truly rare animal, and it is known as the Savannah cat. This is a highly mysterious species, and it is bred from the domestic Siamese cat and the wild African serval. This crossover produces some amazing and truly exotic looks, but also retains the Siamese's friendly and playful nature, which is good because you wouldn't want this thing scratching your eyes out. The very first Savannah cat was born in 2001. And they were bred to have a majestic and wild appearance. They are also big and are in the Guinness Book of World Records as the world's tallest domestic cat. They look a little like a wild cheetah, with golden fur and recognizable pointed ears, along with spotted markings for that extra wild feel. They are also known as a cat with a somewhat dog-like temperament, needing lots of attention from their owners and tending to follow them around the house. But they also need way more exercise than the average domestic cat, so you'll need to invest in a pretty large play area for it, which won't be cheap. But then, hey, nor will the cat itself. They can cost as much as $20,000. Number 6. Zoe. They could have called it a yo or a cack, but whoever named this cross between a cow and a yak decided to make up their own rules and call it a Zoe. This huge bovid is pretty unusual, but it's used as a farm animal in Tibet and Mongolia. They are known to be a strong animal that produces a lot of milk and meat, while not being any more expensive to feed and care for than regular yaks or cattle. Their versatility has been noticed, and other Asian nations are taking interest in this hybrid. They can weigh around 1,300 pounds and stand 5.5 feet tall. And they have the long and shaggy coat, which is typical of a yak, but they have a face like a cow, as well as horns. The males are sterile, but the females are fertile, so can be bred with bulls or male yaks to make another kind of hybrid with a little more yak or cow balance. They can survive at very high altitude and are larger than either of their parents, and are also more agile. These days, they are also often used to haul loads of up to 300 pounds for people hoping to climb Mount Everest. Number 5. Geep. Goats and sheep have been living together for longer than recorded history, and yet interbreeding between them is still very rare. They do not belong to the same genus, but are from the same subfamily, Caprinae. But rare doesn't mean never, and when this mix occurs, the offspring is known as a geep. These two are too different to produce healthy offspring, so the majority are stillborn, but there are records of some geep which have survived. One such case was recorded in Botswana in 2000, when a male sheep mated with a female goat and the baby geep was born healthy, with a coarse outer coat and woolly inner coat, legs like a goat and the body of a sheep. It was also known to have an overactive libido, going after any female goat or sheep it could find. Some other instances have occurred in the Netherlands back in 2011, and in My Petting Zoo in Scottsdale, Arizona, where a baby geep named Butterfly was born in 2014. This young geep was healthy and happy and became one of the star attractions of the petting zoo. Number 4. Bengal Cat. Back in the 1980s, the Bengal cat breed was perfected by the famous cat breeder Gene Sugden Mill. The Bengal cat is a hybrid of the domestic cat and the Asian leopard cat, and the Bengal has the amazing looks and agility of the wild cat mixed with the more chilled-out temperament of the domestic cat. The Bengal is not a cat for beginners though, as it has inherited plenty of traits from its wild parent, which is a forest-dwelling wildcat. This means the Bengal will be absolutely crazy about climbing and will have energy to burn. They can comfortably leap more than 10 feet into the air, and will become destructive if they are not given plenty of entertainment. In fact, they are such amazing jumpers, they have even been called flying cats. They are also hyper-intelligent and can be trained to perform tricks more easily than other cats. Bengals are also renowned for their beauty, mainly due to the soft, marbled coats they have. And on top of that, they have something called the glitter gene, which gives their coats an iridescent sparkle for a 70s disco cat feel, if that's what you're into. Number 3. Roller bear. Once upon a time, there was a pretty big wedge of space between the habitats of polar bears and grizzly bears. But as the polar ice caps melt, polar bears have begun moving south, and now the territories of the two huge bears have begun to cross over. Of course, for years the internet has been flooded with people asking about who would win in a fight between a polar bear and a grizzly, and there's a lot of answers to this question. But whichever bear you think might be the better fighter, in reality it turns out that they are more lovers than fighters. And this meeting of the two bear species has begun to produce a fair number of growler bears, which is of course the offspring of the polar bear and the grizzly. Some people also like calling them pizzly bears, which I have to say I prefer because it is ridiculous. The first ever growler bear was observed in 2006, and while only 3 more cases have been officially recorded, scientists believe this mysterious hybrid may be more numerous than that, and set to become much more popular. They have many characteristics of the polar bear, but with bigger claws and darker fur. Number 2. Beefalo. The prize for the best name for a hybrid animal goes to the beefalo, which comes in just ahead of the pizzly bear. The beefalo is a hybrid of an American buffalo and a domestic cow. This mix was created at first by accident back in the 18th century, but soon people realized that adding the buffalo's amazing ability to survive in harsh climates would make this a very useful species for farming, especially as they are less hungry than domestic cattle do. The meat is considered even better than cow meat, and so this species is set to increase in number as more people wake up to the advantages of the beefalo. They usually have fine and dark-colored hair and can weigh as much as 2,000 pounds. They are docile and very tolerant to disease. Unlike domestic animals, the ideal mix is actually about 2/3 cattle and 1/3 buffalo, so it takes a few generations to get the combination just right. The calves are smaller, which makes birth safer, and grow very quickly, and beefalos remain sexually active up to 25 years old, far more than regular cattle, who can only reproduce until around 8 to 10 years old. Number 1. Zubron. The Zubron is another bovid hybrid, this time the mixture of a domestic cow and a European bison, which is also known as a Wisent. This animal was first bred in Poland and was named back in the 1960s. They are very heavy animals, which can weigh as much as 2,600 pounds, and like their beefalo cousins, they are also highly resistant to diseases and can tolerate harsh weather conditions with ease. Even though it was named in the 60s, that very first Zubron was bred by Leopold Walicki in 1847, and in the period after World War I, some scientists thought the Zubron could completely replace the domestic cattle worldwide. Just imagine your lunchbox filled with creamy Zubron Velveeta sandwiches. The Polish Academy of Sciences continued its experiments with the Zubron throughout the 20th century, and although the animal never really caught on as hoped, it is still considered a real possibility as an alternative to cattle. Which of these crazy rare hybrids would you like to see most? If you could crossbreed any two animals in the lab, what would they be and what would they be like? Let us know in the comments below. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on screen right now. See you next time.